Welcome back, everybody, to our next episode of Hearing Health Insights with APPF, where we bring you exclusive interviews with independent audiologists in South Africa. Our goal is to help the public understand more about hearing health and the professionals who play a crucial role within hearing healthcare. And today we have the pleasure of introducing Lindi Roux, who is an independent audiologist and a member of APPF. Welcome, Lindi.
Welcome. It's such a pleasure to be here with you guys.
So happy that you are here, and I think let's dive right into it. So why don't you give us an idea, what's the reason that you became an audiologist? What inspired you?
I think it's always a personal story. In my case, it was my grandfather. So I realized that every time we go to visit or they visit us, he isolates himself completely and he goes and play with the children outside and he's not really part of the conversation. And then he got hearing aids, but it was those small in the ear hearing aids and he really didn't benefit a lot from it. But he started, and later on he got a little bit better technology hearing aids, and then suddenly he was part of the conversations again. I observed quite a few audiologists. It was way back then. And I decided that my passion was always helping people. I never knew what I wanted to do. But then I got into studying speech therapy and audiology. And later, it's just such a privilege to be an audiologist because you have a place where you can change people's lives on a daily basis. So that's what encouraged me.
So excited. How long have you been in practice and what do you love in audiology?
I studied at the University of Pretoria, and then we were one of the first groups that were privileged enough to do community service. And I did my community service in Ermelo Hospital, where after I started a practice in Ermelo for Hearing and Balance Clinic. And in a few years later, in 2009, one of the ENTs in Middelburg approached me to open a practice in Middelburg. And it was such a great privilege to work closely with the ear, nose, and throat specialist, as well as in a team with speech therapists, occupational therapists. And then later on last year, I also opened a practice in Pretoria that's called Hearing Color. And I think it's such an appropriate name for what I want to establish in audiology, because especially during COVID, I could see that there is a massive impact on people with hearing loss, and they got so isolated. And every time I see a patient in my practice, I can see that the spouse is interpreting for them. They're not part of the conversation. They're not catching the jokes. And every time you put on that hearing aid, it's like there's color in that person's life. It's like the whole attitude change. And yeah, that is what gives me passion. And one of the other things that one of my patients said the other day, doing stuff for other people is such a place where you actually, it's a selfish act because you get so much more from that than the other person. And that's what makes audiology for me so interesting. It's also an ever-changing job. So technology makes it so much easier. I remember when I started as an audiologist, we still had like little screwdrivers and you could just adjust a few little things. But now the options are unlimited and there's absolutely nothing that you can't fix for the patient. So there's no reason for hearing aids just being in the cupboard anymore. They can actually use the hearing aids and benefit from it.
Lindi, you mentioned about your grandfather as the inspiration as why you became an audiologist, and you also now mentioned about hearing devices and how we used to change with screwdrivers, the volume and the frequency balance. Can you maybe give an idea, somebody is watching this from the public, what are some of the misconceptions that you've seen that are still misconceptions about hearing care and hearing loss?
There are so many, especially during the older generation people. They have this conception that hearing aids are massive. It's an indication that you're old, and some people even think if you have a hearing aid, there's something wrong with your brain. And I think everything has really changed. It's small, discreet. I always ask people, why do you wear your glasses, but you're not prepared to wear hearing aids? Because it's almost impossible to see. If there's a problem with whistling, there might be wax, because it's definitely not the hearing aids anymore. And technology has changed so much that even in noisy situations, the feedback managers and the speech enhancers are so good that it can actually take away the background noise or make it a little bit more normal, and it focuses on speech. So that is also a problem from the past. A lot of patients also says that, but I have to buy hearing aid batteries all the time. That is also not true anymore. You can get rechargeable hearing aids, so you just plug it in at night, and the next morning you can wear your hearing aids full time. I also want to say my mom, going back to family again, she never used, she always said, I hate watching the television. I don't like watching television. And then when she got hearing aids, now my dad said, can you please deactivate that app, because all your mom is doing is watching series through her hearing aids. So gone with the time that you can't hear with your hearing aids on the phone or watching television. So that is also a great pro, and away with misconception, away with stereotypes.
You couldn't be more true. And if anyone does have a hearing loss, it couldn't be the best time to get technology than it is now. So that's very, very true. Lindi, I wanted to ask you if you could share a heartwarming success story with us, something that is memorable, an experience from your career or in your practice that highlights the positive impact of audiology in someone's life.
It sounds like an easy question, but it's actually a difficult question, because there are so many. It's very difficult to actually just say one. On a daily basis, you see the difference that you make in people's life. So people telling you that suddenly I can go to the golfing range again and have interaction with my with all the people that I play with. I don't have that, that long hole at the end of the of the golfing range where you can spend a few hours. I don't have to avoid that again. I can go into the golfing club and have a conversation. I can have jokes with my family members again. But if there's something specific that I can think about now, I had one patient, my secretary actually warned me about him. She said, he always looks cross and anxious. And when he came into my practice, I love those patients because I know I'm going to change their lives. I realized that he had been using hearing aids for a very long time. But if I say used, he only wore them to church. Okay, he haven't had the hearing aid service, he haven't had his yearly hearing test or anything like that. So we started the whole process afresh. We reprogrammed his hearing aids, went in for a service, and he was as happy as a bee when he walked out of my practice. About 2 weeks later, he pitched up with this present, and his whole personality changed. He came into my office and he told me, Lindi, my brother, at his end, he couldn't care for himself anymore. And I had to go and wash him, and I had to feed him because he didn't want a carer. And at this end, he said, you will never know how much you changed my life. And you made me feel like my brother. You will never know how much you changed my life. It's stories like that that really inspires me. And if we go to the other spectrum with children, we see a lot of children as well. And I have one specific child in mind. She was fitted with a hearing aid when she was 2 years old. She had profound hearing losses. And we walked a path with her because I'm a speech therapist as well. And now that child is in a mainstream school. She's excelling academically. So it's stuff like that that really gives quality to life back.
Lindi, thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for your time today. I think especially just hearing your heart and hearing this success story that you mentioned to us really shows the public the type of person that you are, but also hopefully gives some valuable insights into hearing care and hearing health in modern times. And I think that's really important. So thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We really enjoyed talking to you. And as I mentioned, just hearing your heart behind the job that you do, and that for you it is more than a job. It's really changing people's lives. So thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it.
My biggest pleasure, and this is not a job, it's a hobby. And to get up in the morning and say I can go to work, that is the best thing that can happen. Even December holidays, I'm like getting anxious. It has to be January because my patients are my family at the end of the day.
Thank you, Lindi. Everyone that's watching this, we really want to encourage you. If you enjoyed this and you enjoyed this particular interview, please leave a comment, engage with us. We also want to, we're going to provide links in this video. Please go like our social media pages and go and visit our website. All the links will be provided.